Hello, my name is King, and this is Cigar Talks with AFLO. If you are an entrepreneur or a small business owner that sells high-ticket items to your consumers, anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 or more, and you'd like to offer zero money down consumer financing for your customers to pay for your product, click the link to learn how you can integrate this service into your business today. So, in today's very first episode, before we get into our celebrity guests and things of that nature, I wanted to really bring you on a journey into my world and how we actually started doing financing for businesses and things of that nature. You know, today we operate a very robust business. We have a lot of clients. We work with a lot. We're doing multi-million-dollar deals. We have an exotic car rental company that we buy cars with and we rent cars with. We have Airbnbs. We have trucking companies, crypto, things of that nature. A lot Amazon stores that we're financing. There's a lot of things going on, but things weren't always as grandiose as they are today. And there's always a ceiling for things to improve. So I want to take you on that journey with us on how we got here and really, help navigate you through the industry and this entire space. So both my parents were in the entertainment industry, right? So we're going to start from the very beginning, right? Both my parents were in the entertainment industry. My father was the vice president of Capitol Records. He signed individuals like Babyface, BB and CeCe Winans, Brian McKnight, Tamia, the list goes on. He's worked with Michael Jackson, Mary J. Blige. The list goes on and on and on. My mother's a two-time Grammy-nominated singer. So I was blessed from a very young age to be surrounded by greatness in the entertainment field. Now, anyone who's in the entertainment business understands that not only is it very hard to get to the pinnacle of that business, but it's also not consistent either financially. That's why you see that a lot of major artists actually end up getting into other businesses. You have Rick Ross, who does Wingstops and other businesses. Jay-Z that you see is doing multiple businesses. Drake, Beyonce, J-Lo, the list goes on and on and on. So what artists are doing is they're using the music as a marketing tool for themselves to make their brand more valuable, to make their personal brand more valuable. And they're using that brand strategically to get into other business endeavors, which is extremely smart, right? So I've experienced the ups and downs in that business personally, being the child of these individuals. Now, I don't necessarily talk about my entertainment background too much because I don't want people to think that the way that I got to where I am today and the way our company got to where we are today has been because of the connections and the influences that I've had from my entertainment background, because that's not the case at all. What I will tell you though, what having parents who are successful or were successful in the business, what it did give me is it did give me an unlimited belief system from a very young age that anything is possible, right? I'm lucky enough to be a black man, King, in America that's not limited, that doesn't have a limited belief system about what the possibilities are. Like, I don't have a thought process that, I'm unable to attain certain things because I'm black or because I'm not of a, I just don't have those limiting beliefs. And the reason why I call them limiting beliefs is because whatever and this is a very important gem that I'm about to drop for you. The reason why I call it a limiting belief is because whatever you focus on expands. Obviously, being black in America is a thing for every black person in America. Being Latin in America is a thing for every Latin person in America. Being Chinese in America is a thing for every Chinese person in America. Being Vietnamese in America is a thing for every Vietnamese person in America. Everything matters, but if you focus on that, then you're limiting yourself to only having those experiences. So because I have an unlimited belief system and I've never thought like that. I've never believed that I was limited because of color, race, I would say that specifically stems from where I came from what I've seen growing up. Because of that, I've always had the desire to become successful, and I started really looking to be successful early on. And it forced me to ask a lot of questions about the school system and things like that, which I'll go through with you now. So let's take it a step further, right? So imagine having parents that are introducing you to all types of stars. Like, my very first memory in life is me on a tarmac with Michael Jackson, with paparazzi taking photos of me before my father and Michael Jackson go on a private jet to Africa for his tour, right? So imagine that being your first memory. Imagine my mother introducing me to a lot of successful individuals in multiple industries that I still know to this day. Very high level people, influencers as we would call them today, that are very successful in business. I've seen this from a very young age, Black or Spanish, right? So because I've seen all of this, so what ended up happening was my father ended up getting fired from his position at the record label, right? And in that instant, I was about maybe 9 years old when it happened. And our entire financial world changed because he didn't want to be in the music industry anymore. So he transitioned into the school system. So I went from having a lot of money, you know, my parents having a lot of money and us rolling around in limos everywhere, to being broke and middle class and struggling, right? And living right next to the hood in New York City. And so living in the hood in New York City is an interesting dynamic when you're coming from a certain level of success. They might have a limited belief system on, you know, the opportunities that they can get involved in, or the opportunities that are afforded for them, or how successful they can be based on the proximity of where they live. And I don't have that same mentality. So growing up in the hood, after having the success that my parents had, was actually very, you know, you could consider it a lonely road. Now, I never felt lonely as a kid, you know, but I always felt kind of out of the mix. Like, you know, I was popular, I was a basketball player, I was ranked in my class, you know, top in my class. So I was popular from a basketball standpoint, but I didn't go to prom. I didn't hang out with people. I didn't, you know what I mean? That was just my thing. Like, I just felt like I had my little group that I hung out with, and that was it. You know, a lot of people knew me, but I didn't hang out outside of that group. I used to ask a lot of questions though when I was in school, and there's things that, you know, these questions actually led me to who I am today. Right. And these questions also forced me to have to deal with some things that I'm going to talk to you guys about today, because there's a lot of learning lessons that come from these questions, and how these questions that I asked in elementary school and college, you know, and in entrepreneurship. And it led me to have certain experiences very young, both positive and negative, that led me to where I am today. So I'm going to go through those questions today. And these questions that I'm going to go through with you today, can actually be used to limit the amount of failure that you need to have in business going forward. So the first question that I used to ask my teachers in school that always got me in trouble was, you're teaching me about business, but have you ever had a business? You're teaching me about success, but have you ever been successful? Or are you just reading from a book? See, a lot of times people will go to school for business, but not really learn how to run a business. You'll learn how to work in a business. You'll learn mathematical equations, but you won't learn how to run a business. You don't learn leadership. You don't learn closing deals. You don't learn high-level sales, right? You don't even learn how to flip real estate, how to buy real estate. You don't even learn how to do your own taxes. You don't learn how to balance your own books, right? These are trades that you have to figure out along the way. So what exactly is a business school teaching the kids? Right now, I didn't go to a business school. I actually had a basketball scholarship to college, but I've always had these lingering questions when I was in school, high school, elementary school, college. And this is the reason why I ultimately ended up leaving school early, even though I had a basketball scholarship. I ended up breaking my hand in college, and I lost my basketball scholarship for the moment in time that my hand was broken. And when I got that first bill for how much it was going to cost me just to sit in school, and I knew I wasn't going to learn anything because I didn't have a basketball scholarship, I said, okay, I'm leaving. There's no way that I'm paying this amount of money to sit here and learn from these individuals that don't have the type of success that I want. You know, and it all stems back to, you know, what I've seen as a kid. Now, I know everybody's not fortunate enough to see things as a kid, right? Because the things that you learn when you're a kid actually shape your perspective in life, right? And it might allow you to see opportunities in things or not see opportunities in things because of how you view the world. So I want you to learn from my experiences, right? Because I genuinely didn't see how I could learn how to be successful from people that did never achieve the level of success of anyone that I had around me. So I left. And from that moment on, I sought out experiences and mentorship. Lesson number 2. During that journey, I actually experienced a lot of failure. See, my father, as I told you, he was in the entertainment industry and did very well. And then he transitioned to the school system. So you can imagine me leaving school early did not rub off well with him. So I had a big wake up call at 18 years old or 17 years old, really. On my 18th birthday, I was kicked out the house. And it's like, you know, you do what you want to do. I ended up going away to college and left early. So now I have nowhere to go. And I'm 19 years old, nowhere to go, not in school, and need to figure it out. So that's what I did, right? And during this time, I actually started a blog online, and the blog did very well. It was actually about relationships, right? And I was just going on dates and watching other people's dates and, you know, blogging about it on Facebook, 180 characters. And I would ask questions and things of that nature. And it actually sparked the interest of the executive producer of the Rush Limbaugh show, Bo Snerdley. And I ended up, you know, we ended up speaking about it. And I ended up living with Bo Snerdley at 21 years old for a year, writing a book about relationships. So I wrote this book about relationships, and I ended up going back to New York. From that moment on, I met a publicist in New York, and I was on every major radio station that you could possibly imagine in New York. Hot 97, 107.5, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. I ended up meeting a lot of celebrities, connecting with them, getting involved in, you know, the celebrity world. And then I ended up having twins, right? And when I had twins, it really, you know, like as people who are in the entertainment industry understand that the fame and the money don't necessarily go hand in hand. Now, I was not famous, but I was getting there. Like, I was getting a lot of offers. I was going to a lot of places. I was on every radio station, you know. But then when I had twins, a reality check hit, and I was like, okay, I'm unable to succeed in this business and take care of my responsibilities. So I had to pivot. And for 5 years after that, I was a bartender in New York, bartending at the same parties that I used to get invited to as a guest, running into the same people. It was for me, it was a low point for a long time because I couldn't figure out, for me, it was a low point for a long time because I couldn't figure out how to make things happen. And then there were a couple shifts that happened during that time. Right, the shift number one, I ended up getting contacted by this woman online named Duchess. And Duchess approached me about, wanting to do a show about celebrity kids, right? So the way that this show worked was she wanted to do a show around celebrity kids. This is before growing up hip hop and all that. As a matter of fact, side note, we created this celeb kids reality show, and Growing Up Hip Hop actually snatched a bunch of the cast members that we had on our show and put them on their show. So we were very early to the game. Now, our concept was very unique because, like her, she had celebrity parents. Her dad was the second most sampled artist of all time. And she was not as successful as people believed that she was. And so I had the same experience. I was not as successful as people believed that I should have been, right? And this is why I never really spoke about my parents and the entertainment industry, because it didn't translate to me. It translated to me having a better mindset. It translated to me having better connections, or it translated to me being more worldly and being able to connect with people, with a more vast majority of people, and having traveled and things of that nature. But from a financial perspective, I wasn't different from the people in my hood. I was the same. I just had a different mental state, a different trajectory. So she was the same exact way. She was living in the hood, but she had a different mind state. So we connected. So I said, hey, you know what? Instead of us just doing a show about celebrity kids, why don't we find the kids that have the same story as us? So we put out a little SOS online and ran it as a campaign, and we started getting calls from Barry White's daughter, and it was, Jam Master Jay's daughter, who ended up on Growing Up Hip Hop, DMX's son, Xavier Simmons, rest in peace, DMX. We met his wife, Tashara, and the list goes on and on and on. We had all these kids that we were now connected to, that we were doing that we were filming all this content with. Right, so long story short, we ended up working hard to pitch the show. The industry wasn't necessarily happy about the fact that we were having that conversation. So they never greenlit us putting that show on TV, and instead Growing Up Hip Hop was created, and they ended up poaching a few of our talent from our show and created Growing Up Hip Hop. And a lot of you guys have seen that show, or have heard of it at least. But that was my first stint at understanding that I was able to put together concepts that can work, right? Like unconventional concepts that can work and gather attention. So I ended up reading this book called The Laws of Success in 16 Lessons by Napoleon Hill. And this book changed my entire life. A lot of the questions that I had surrounding, how I was able to manifest things and think something and it happens, a lot of that was actually clarified in the book. I want to talk to you guys about something that is kind of off kilter, but I want to share this with you because a lot of people don't know this, So we're told that there's only 5 senses, but there are much more than 5 senses. There are actually 8 senses. right? And I'm going to go through those senses with you. So you have taste, touch, hear, smell, see. But then you also have telepathy, clairvoyance, and intuition, right? Now, we don't acknowledge, the world doesn't acknowledge those other three senses because it starts to take you into the spirit realm. And the goal is for you to be locked into the physical world, which is, you know, in my opinion, a tactic for manipulation, things of that nature. Anyway. But the point is that once you start to understand that there is a spirit realm and that spirit realm has laws, including the law of attraction, including intuition, including telepathy, including clairvoyance, which is your ability to see things before they happen, then you will start to lean on those skills a lot more and not get caught up in the physical reality that you have today. Now, this is very important because when I was reading the book, The Laws of Success in 16 Lessons by Napoleon Hill, at the end of the book, it's a huge book. Read it, but take your time, process everything that's in the book. It's like 1,200 pages, something like that. At the end of the book, it says, if you don't remember anything else, remember that you need to have a definite chief aim and you need to use your words strategically to create the life that you want to create. Now, I want to talk to you about those two concepts real quick because understanding those two concepts changed my life. A definite chief aim means that you need to have a direction for your life that you're working towards every single day. So a lot of times I'll meet entrepreneurs that are chasing checks around, and I already know that they're not successful because success is not built like that, right? There are, like, let's think about if you're in the financial space, let's think about any stock chart. What stock chart do you know that's just been been a lateral movement the entire time it's been in existence? That's not how success works. That's not how business works. That's not how anything works, right? When you're there's a night and there's a day. There's a up and there's a down. There's a good and there's a bad, right? Like, all of these things exist. So stock charts might over time go up, but they're going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and look at Bitcoin, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. If you're the type of person that jumps ship every time things go down, you're not going to be able to sow the seed in your life strong enough for you to be able to succeed at a high level, right? This is why having a definite chief aim is important, because you need to have a vision that you're committed to long term so that you can go through those downs and those ups and become who you're supposed to become. Because the purpose of life is not to make money. The purpose of life is to grow your soul. That's the purpose of life, right? We are all beings having a human experience, right? Not a being having a financial experience. That's part of the human experience. But the human experience in totality is about growing your soul. It's about becoming a better version of yourself. It's about finding your purpose. It's about helping other humans. It's about figuring out who you are. It's about connecting to the higher source. So this is the reason why committing yourself to the highest version of yourself is important. So having a definite chief aim. And the second thing was, and I'm going to add a third one that I've learned along the way. The second thing was using your words strategically to create your future. Now, I want to talk to you real quick about the power of words. Because the power of words is something that is absolutely astronomical, right? The power of words is this: whatever you speak happens in real life, right? I want to say that again. Whatever you speak happens in real life. This is not a matter of fact. It is a fact, right? And I want to prove it to you. I don't even know you, most likely, but I'm going to prove it to you. Have you ever thought to yourself, anything that I've ever really wanted, I've gotten? Right? Like almost every human that I've ever spoken to in his lifetime says that to me. So why hasn't anyone thought about the fact that maybe that's just how life works, right? Maybe everything that you want, you actually get, right? Because the world doesn't promote that message to you, so you don't believe it. But if everybody jumped off the building and landed on the ground, then it's safe to say that, well, if I jump off the building, I'm going to land on the ground. Hello, my name is King, and this is Cigar Talks with AFLO. If you are an entrepreneur or a small business owner that sells high-ticket items to your consumers, anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 or more, and you'd like to offer zero money down consumer financing for your customers to pay for your product, click the link to learn how you can integrate this service into your business today.